deviation from America's norm, that this is somehow some unique, horrible break with the history of the country? No. The glitch was the 8 years of the Obama administration. This is back to your regularly scheduled programming. The history of politicians scapegoating black and brown folks, blaming them for problems that they didn't create, and then getting votes on the basis of that, that's not new. Donald Trump didn't create that, didn't invent that. That's been going on for 400 years, back to the colonial period, before we even were a country. So the first lesson is, don't assume that what's happened all of a sudden is a new thing. Don't be shocked by it. This is normal for America. Welcome to your country. The whole history of America is the history of rich white men telling not rich white people that their enemies are black and brown. It starts in the colonies of what would become the United States. Rich folks looked around, the ones that owned all the land, in the colonies, the colonial elite looked around and they realized something, that they were heavily outnumbered by African enslaved folks, by European indentured servants who were just one level above a slave, or other Europeans who weren't technically indentured servants, but they were still peasants, didn't have any money, didn't have any land, and they could do the math. They added it up and they were like, damn, we got to figure out a way to split these folks apart from one another, or they're going to rise up and take our stuff.
Systemic racism. It's a term that we often hear, but what does it truly mean? Systemic racism refers to the deeply ingrained structures within our institutions and culture that perpetuate racial inequalities. It's not just about individual acts of prejudice, it's about the systemic disadvantages faced by people of color in education, employment, healthcare, and beyond. Acknowledging systemic racism is the first step towards creating a better world, but we cannot hope to dismantle something that we refuse to recognize. By acknowledging its existence, we validate the experiences of those who have been marginalized and oppressed for far too long. But acknowledgement is just the beginning. We must also commit to taking real action. This means actively challenging and changing the systems and structures that uphold racial inequality. It means listening to and amplifying the voices of those who have been silenced for far too long. It means investing in education, healthcare, and economic opportunities for communities of color. It means holding ourselves and our institutions accountable for our actions and inactions. Bringing about a better world requires uncomfortable